Hey, everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome back. The sports wrap, a lot of sports to get into with the broadcasting legend, Storm and Norm Rumack. First of all, Norm, happy Thanksgiving to you. Happy Thanksgiving to all the fans out there. And for the Jewish fans, Sukkot is on and Shemirni Atzeret. And on Wednesday, it's Simchat Torah. So hopefully, you're in the sukkah, shaking your lulav like Norm, and hopefully you didn't watch two games of the ALCS. But what do you want to start with, Norm? What do you want to start with? You want to start with the Maple Leafs outshooting Detroit 41-15 and losing 3-2, and that's back-to-back games that they lose to Detroit. And you want to start with the Blue Jays losing back-to-back games to Seattle in the ALCS. Two Monday Night Football games, my Buffalo Bills trailing 21-14. They got lucky at the end of the half. You want to start with Seth Rollins getting the tsunami by Bronson Reed in WWE. You want to start with talking about the footy there, Chelsea and TFC finally playing their last game this weekend at home against Orlando at BMO Field before BMO Field gets restructured and all that. And by the way, you want to talk about the Argos losing to Scott, every sport in the world. You want to talk about curling, lacrosse, and everything like that. What do you want to talk about, Norm?
Well, it doesn't matter to me. Just pick and choose. By the way, there's no European footy. They're playing friendlies and.
But you know what I'm saying.
Up
until this, we'll talk about Chelsea later on. But let's first start off. They're in a championship series, the ALCS, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Seattle Mariners. Game 1 yesterday, 8:08 p.m. Fans were really, the first time since 9 years they went into the ALCS with Kansas City there. They're really on a high. They think they're going to beat Seattle. You predicted the Blue Jays in 7. Mark Swolinski, a former writer for Toronto Star, predicted the Blue Jays in 7. I am the president of the province of Canada, the mayor-elect of North America, soon to run for the mayor of wherever. Could run wherever. I predict that Seattle will win. Seattle will win. That's what I predicted. Aren't they? Now, the first game, Sunday, Blue Jays start off great. First pitch, bottom of the first inning, George Springer sees, home run. Aren't you happy? Home run, leading 1-0. That's the only run you're going to see from the Blue Jays the whole game. They lost 3-1. Let's recap game 1 and then recap game 2. So, first of all, Sunday, were you disappointed with, Gosman being taken out after like 60 pitches, 6 innings? He let in a home run, okay, 1-1, and then it turns into 3-1. Were you disappointed with game 1?
I wasn't disappointed because I don't have a rooting interest, so I don't really care what the outcome of the series is.
Wait a minute. Didn't you just pick the Blue Jays to win? So you do have a rooting interest.
Well, only for wagering purposes, but
well, if you're going to wager, aren't you wagering with money, or what are you going to wager with sandboxes or toy castles or what?
With Joe Pasek pennies.
Pennies? Oh, they're more expensive. Anyways, go ahead. So you didn't have a rooting interest, but what else did you think about it? Or as a Blue Jay,
you got to give Seattle a lot of credit. You got to give Seattle a lot of credit. They're coming off no rest, 15 innings, different time zone. You got to give Seattle a huge thumbs up for what they managed to pull off, considering everyone thought, well, what a huge disadvantage. They played 15 innings. Well, it was a huge disadvantage, and they pulled through it. And a monster home run by Cal Raleigh, right? Yes. And Miller pitched brilliantly. So you got to give Seattle all the credit in the world for pulling off a win that nobody thought was going to be possible. Now they've won 2 in a row, and it's a whole different picture going back to Seattle for 3 games now.
Yeah, and it's really, really, surprising game 1 here. Okay, so we talked about Sunday, Sunday. Let's talk about today. Today, it was like the Blue Jays playing the Yankees. The Blue Jays killed the Yankees 10-3, and today they lost 10-3. Savage started the game, and he gave up a 3-run home run, but the Blue Jays tied it up in the third inning, 3-3, and then everything fell down. Put it that way, everything fell down. What do you think of today's result? The Blue Jays losing to Seattle in Game 1, 3-1. Tonight, 10-3.
I don't know. I mean, only the Blue Jays know, inside their locker room. I mean, did they perhaps take Seattle a little lightly? Were they overconfident coming out of that series with the Yankees because of the way that they won? I don't know. Only the Blue Jays know for sure. But end of the day, you got to give Seattle big time credit in front of a hostile crowd. They get back to back wins. And again, they're probably jet lagged and tired from their previous series. So all you can say is, hey, tip of the cap to Seattle for what they pulled off in the first two games in Toronto.
Yeah, and it's very, like we talked about, that was one of my concerns when we did the preview with Mark. Pitching 15 innings on Friday. Well, what about the bullpen? What about everything there? And Game 1 went rather smoothly. Game 2 went even more smoothly. Now, Blue Jays are down 2-0 in the best 4 out of 7. Now, unlike other series, the ALCS is 2-3-2 format. So I'm going to ask you, Norm, and we talked about this off here. I don't believe that we're going to see Toronto back in Toronto. I think Seattle wins it in Seattle because it's 2-3-2 format. Blue Jays may win a game, but I don't know if they're going to win 2 games, to be really frank with you. Do you think we see Toronto playing back in Toronto and extending the series to 6?
Well, anything's possible. Let's highlight that, as we all know. So, and as I said, I stand by what I said when you and I and Mark were together, where I said momentum is, and I said that when we did our first preview uh, uh, of the wild card showdown with the the divisional playoff, whatever it's
Yeah, the
properly
DS,
called.
DS.
Yeah, ALDS with the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And I said that momentum is overrated. You could just like we were surprised when the Yankees actually won a game off Toronto.
Yeah.
So um, just when it looks like it's over, maybe it's not. But having said that, considering Seattle only has to win 2 out of the 3 games, it's going to be awfully hard. Their crowd is going to be pretty rowdy for sure in Seattle. And I'm sure they'll scoop up all the leftover tickets. So there may be some Blue Jay fans there, but I don't imagine Seattle fans will be selling their tickets to Blue Jay fans. At least I doubt it, unless they're paying crazy prices. So, but anyway, the fans is a separate issue. If Seattle can play well as they did in front of a sold out Rogers Center with 40,000 plus fans,
43, 42.
I don't think having a few Blue Jay fans in Seattle is going to make much difference to the Seattle Mariners when they're playing at home. So I think the Blue Jays are really got their backs up against the wall to get more than one win. I think they'll get a win for sure. Well, I shouldn't say for sure. That's going a bit overboard, but my gut feel tells me they'll get at least one win.
That's what I feel.
And we'll see what happens. But certainly the Blue Jays are going up a creek without a paddle. That's for sure.
So, okay, well, you sort of did not answer the question. Do they get more than one? Do they come back to Toronto for Game 6? Yes or no?
Well, my gut feel tells me no. They'll get one win.
That's what I believe also. So now, if that happens, I'm going to hypothetically, because we don't know what happens tomorrow or 5 minutes from now, okay? So if that happens, what do you think of the Blue Jays season if they don't come back? Put it that way. Give me your synopsis of the Blue Jays season, going to the ALCS, disappointing, losing here. But what do you think? Give me your synopsis.
Well, you remove all emotion from it. They certainly improved quite a bit over last year. They've certainly got some good talent on the squad. So I guess, you could say there's reason to be optimistic, but I think we're doing a synopsis, a review a little bit too early. Let's see what happens on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And, if they get eliminated, then we can do a review. But, if it turns out that way, I'd say, well, overall, the Blue Jays improved substantially over a year ago. So you got to give them that. And it's a question of what they do in the off season. But you got to expect, Joe, and you and I were talking about this off air. Next year, the Yankees, there's going to be someone's going to pay a price for the way they lost to the Blue Jays. I don't
Yeah,
know if it's going to be Aaron Boone or whatever, but uh, they're not going to be very happy with the way they exited, considering the money they spent and the kind of talent they got on the roster. So I say that with the idea that the Yankees are going to spend some money and improve their team. You know that the Red Sox will. The Orioles can't be that bad 2 years in a row. They've just got too much talent. We were talking about that with Mike Wilner. So call it a bump in the road or a big bump in the road that the Orioles hit. But I think the Orioles are going to be a lot more competitive. And Tampa Bay is always a thorn in the side of everybody else in the AL East. They're a hard team to play against. We've seen that so many times, not just Toronto, but other clubs. They make it really hard for you. They're a well-run organization on a very low budget, about third or fifth from the bottom. So in terms of payroll. So the whole division is going to be a lot tougher next year, and it'll be tougher for the Jays to repeat what they did. I'm not saying that they can't. The Jays have a very good roster, but the Blue Jays will have to improve in the offseason as well. But we're really jumping well ahead of ourselves. At this
yeah.
stage, the Blue Jays can still come back and get into the series and maybe win it.
So,
It's going to
so
be
here,
hard, but they could still
here's the
do
next
that.
part of that question. Is we looked at, okay, if it comes back or whatever. Now, as you know, most Blue Jay fans are probably down for the first two games. Okay, but what if they come back and surprise, maybe take 2 out of 3, maybe sweep Seattle in Seattle? Uh, if the Blue Jays take 2 out of 3 or sweep, do the Blue Jays control? Well, they do control, but do you think they're going to win the series?
Well, the question would
Right now,
be:
they think they're going to lose.
Is Seattle going to lose that many games in a row? I doubt it.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying okay, they do. Are you more confident that it comes back? The Blue Jays are up 3-2 with 2 home games for the Blue Jays now.
No, I wouldn't make me more confident because, like I said, I don't believe in all this momentum stuff. Momentum disappears in the blink of an eye. There's nothing to say that the Blue Jays could go on a roll, sweep things in Seattle, right? But the series would still be up for grabs when it comes back to Toronto. So I could see Seattle if they went into a bit of a slump, if you want to call it that. I could still see Seattle winning in Toronto. So I don't believe in any of this momentum stuff. Toronto could easily win 2 games in a row. I don't think they will, but they could, right? And we'll see what happens. Well, if we knew the results ahead of time, we wouldn't be watching the games, Joe. So I'll
So
just say that anything can happen at this stage.
So we have a question here from Scott. Um, he thinks the Blue Jays were too high coming into this against Seattle. Haven't taken Seattle serious, and Vlad Guerrero has now not showed up. Also, all these Barger and Clement and all that. Everybody, it's a total team effort of people who have not showed up. Well, all I'm going to say is, Guerrero's a little bit disappointing coming off, the Yankees lose. The Yankees lose. He was the talk of the town because, honestly, he had a great series. Springer had a great series. Springer had a home run here. Kirk has been playing good here and all that. But, yes, you're right. It's a total team effort. The last 2 games haven't played. They haven't played like they were against the Yankees. Savage was great against the Yankees. Wasn't so good today. So that's baseball. That's any game and everything like that. Do I think the Blue Jays can turn it around? Yeah, the Blue Jays can turn it around. But like I said, I agree with Norm, and I told Norm, I believe that we're not going to see the Blue Jays back in Toronto for this series. They will take one, but I don't think they're going to. It's 2-3-2. So Seattle, I know, is going to come out, and the fans in Seattle are going to be, they haven't seen them since, 15th inning against the Tigers, like they're going to go crazy there. So key is on Wednesday. And Wednesday, by the way, they announced that Beaver is pitching for the Blue Jays. Okay. And he has more experience and all that. That's why he will pitch on the road there. Beaver, it's a must win for the Blue Jays because we talk about going down 2-0. But now, if they lose 3 games in a row, forget it, right? It's a must win for the Blue Jays. Now, for Wednesday, do you think the Blue Jays will pull off a win?
Well, I don't know. I could say yes or no. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know if they're going to pull off a win. Like I said, I think
No, you give
they'll
me your
win.
opinion. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I gave my answer. I said I think they'll win one. They'll win one game, but the series isn't over even if they go down 3-0. So they'll win one of the first 2 games, and then we'll see what happens. But I could go either way. But do I think they'll win Wednesday? I don't know if they'll win Wednesday. I think it's all due respect to the question. I don't know. Flip a coin, heads or tails. Call it.
All right, so Wednesday's game, by the way, they play in Seattle. Game time 8:08 p.m. Shane Bieber goes up against George Kirby. Interesting thing about Kirby, has pitched 10 innings thus far in the postseason, has 14 strikeouts and 1 walk. 14 strikeouts and 1 walk, and Shane Bieber, and that's in 10 innings. And Beaver's got 2 2/3, 2 strikeouts, 1 walk there also. So this is, I'll say it, it is a must win for the Blue Jays. I don't care what you say. If they go down 3, there's always the 4th or whatever. No, they have to pull it to 2 games to 1 if they want to keep this series competitive. Put it that way, competitive. And the people in Seattle, let's hope some people come down from Vancouver to Seattle, because there's always Canadians down in Seattle there, and it's the atmosphere. Let's face it, the atmosphere is going to be off the charts for Seattle, because they're 2 games away from making the World Series for the first time. Okay, they haven't made the ALCS in 21 years. Now, 2 wins away from making the World Series. And by the way, kudos to the Blue Jays. On Sunday, they brought out Edwin Encarnacion to throw out the first pitch, and today they brought out Norm's hated friend, Josh Donaldson, to throw out the first pitch. So we were talking off air that I think maybe Ken Griffey will throw out the first pitch for the Mariners. But anything else you want to touch about the Blue Jays Seattle series? Because we'll do a small look ahead. Right now, currently being played now is Milwaukee and the Dodgers in Game 1 in Milwaukee there. So that should be another fantastic series. The Dodgers lead in the 6th inning 1-0 over Milwaukee. Milwaukee only has a hit, and the Dodgers, Freddie Freeman hit a home run. Canadian Freddie Freeman, 1-0 Dodgers, top of the 6th. But go ahead. Do you want to close out the ALCS and look forward to NLCS?
Well, I mean, if you're a neutral, it's got all the potential to go either way. Like I said, none of us are that smart that we know what's going to happen.
Speak for
The
yourself.
Mariners could sweep it and end it quickly, or relatively quickly, or the Blue Jays could make an unforeseen comeback, which the odds are stacked against them. But there's always, in sports, you never say never, right? So anything can happen. And like I've said many times, that's why we watch the games, because we don't really know what's going to happen. So I throw out all this momentum stuff. I've said it before. I've said it a million times. When you think you know what's going to happen, well, guess what? Sure, Seattle could sweep it, but you could certainly say the Blue Jays, with their bat power, and with, at least during the regular season, their consistency, are capable of going on a winning streak of their own. So they could bring it back here to Toronto. And then when you think the Blue Jays will wrap it up, and maybe Seattle gets hot again. So we've got one of those. It's like a great movie. It's a nail biter, Joe. So just like you and the person who wrote in the question want to know, do I think they're going to win on Wednesday? I don't know. Only the good Lord.
Go out on a line, be fired up. You're on the Fired Up Network. Okay, here, because you're Norm just laid back and all that. So I'm gonna say it's do or die. I believe the Blue Jays will win on Wednesday. And what Norm says is a nail biter. Blue Jays win 5-4, 5-3. I'll go out on the limb, because Norm is not. I'm the president. I should speak on this. Blue Jays will win Game 3. The big thing is what happens on Thursday. But it looks like Max Scherzer will be pitching for the Jays. That's what you're hearing now. So looks like that. Now, Los Angeles, Milwaukee. I believe this game, first of all, it's a great game. If Los Angeles wins, takes control of this, LA will win the series probably in 5 or 6. Do you agree? Don't tell me you don't know. I just asked you a question. Do you agree?
I think the Dodgers will win it in 7. How do you like that?
Yeah, everything to go up against me. All right. So here we go. You say the Dodgers 7, 6, 12, whatever. It looks like they may play Seattle. World Series, Dodgers, Seattle. Is that, does that make you like, oh, this is a must watch series? Or is it Seattle, Milwaukee?
Well, it'll be. I mean, I think in any combination now of the Final Four, it'll be an interesting World Series. So would I watch it? Yeah, absolutely, I'd watch it. I don't really care who the representatives are. If it's Seattle, fine. If it's Toronto, it's fine. Or the Dodgers or Milwaukee. You know, Milwaukee hasn't won a World Series since God knows when. Since I don't know. They were in a World Series in
They have
'82, but
never won the World Series. The
they
Dodgers
lost to the
won.
St. Louis Cardinals in 1982.
Yeah, and that's the only
So
time. That's the only time. And Seattle has never made the World Series. Blue Jays, of
that's
course,
right.
92, 93. So, and Dodgers just last year. So, interesting. If Seattle goes, they have a chance to first time ever. Seattle goes to World Series, and Milwaukee since the 1982. So we're talking what 34 years, right? So that's huge there. All right, I think we talked a lot about baseball games 1 and 2 again for the Blue Jays. Wednesday, Beaver pitching. It's 8:08, and again, 6th inning. Dodgers lead the Brewers. We'll touch on that when we close it out here. Now let's talk about next Tuesday, Norm. Next Tuesday, the NBA is back, and I mentioned this because the famous show that I get invited all the time, you don't because people see you drinking on live TV and all that. That's the problem. You and Charles Barkley have they have the great show, Charles and Ernie and Shaq and all that will debut on ESPN. Now, the big thing is the music from 15, 20 years ago, they did get approval to use the NBA music there. Are you excited? I'm not asking you who's winning. I'm not asking you if the Raptors are making playoffs. I'm not asking, are you excited to see the NBA on NBC?
Well, yeah, NBC is a good network, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, uh, I love that show with Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny the Jet Smith. So,
And Ernie Johnson, don't forget him.
yeah, of course, no, Ernie Johnson's a huge part of it. Ernie does a great job. So, yeah, um, I was hoping they would keep that show and or move it over to NBC. And and you know what makes those guys great, Joe, is they're not afraid to criticize. There's nobody who they won't criticize. I don't mean unfairly. I mean fairly. If they make a mistake, they have a poor night, they'll also
It's
praise the same
criticism.
player.
It's
So they're very
criticism.
balanced. They're very objective. And, I was certainly what you would call a homer when I was doing talk radio in Toronto on the Fan 590. And I did that deliberately. But now, I'd say it's not everybody does it, but it's a lot more common on local
Oh, now, come on.
broadcasts.
In Toronto, does anybody say anything about any bad things about any Toronto teams? Any Toronto teams, all right? Be it the Leafs, be it the Raptors, be it Blue Jays, be it the
Well,
Argos, be it anybody.
some of the guys on the TSN panels do. To be fair, Brian Hayes does an excellent job, uh, and some of his colleagues on his show, on his primetime show. So I must give him credit where credit is due. If he thinks a team or player is playing poorly, he'll say so. If he thinks the manager or general manager or whatever has done a poor job, he'll say so. So I give Brian Hayes and the rest of his TSN primetime crew. They're pretty. They'll support the home team, and they'll say so, but they're also not afraid to criticize. So I have to. I'm not saying they're the only ones who do. Our friends like Steve Simmons and the Toronto Sun isn't afraid to be critical. So we know a lot of people. Our friend Howard Berger criticizes, may agree or disagree with him, but he's not afraid to be critical. So there are people in our market, Joe, that are critical, and there are some shows which are just some programming and some play-by-play where it's pretty obvious they're rooting for the home team, but that's kind of common now in terms of local team broadcast, no matter which team it is, where they're clearly supporting the home team and they're kind of cheering for them, promoting ticket sales, which you got to expect they're going to do. So that's just the way it goes these days, Joe. But yeah, there are some people who are critical, like in a fair way. I don't mean in an unfair way.
Yeah, well, not a lot of some people here, minute people in Toronto, but not a lot of people in Toronto are for Toronto sports are critical at that. But I digress here. Let's NBA will have a lot to talk about, and this is the first time in 21 years that LeBron James will not be starting the season. He's injured for about 6 weeks and all that. So the West, the East, we'll talk about that. Maybe we get your friend, Captain. I don't know. Since I'm the president of the provinces of Canada, I should recall this guy instead of Captain Canada. Something captain of the supermarket or something, Drew Ebanks. Now let's talk about one other thing here. Just today, Sandy Alomar Sr., Roberto Alomar, Sandy Alomar Jr.'s father, passed away, 81 years old. Of course, he was a great manager and everything like that, but Sandy Alomar Sr., the father of the Alomars, specifically Roberto Alomar from the Blue Jay fame, passing away. Any thoughts or anything you want to say about that?
Well, I didn't get to see that much of him play, to be fair, Joe. So, but obviously, I would pass along my condolences to the Alomar family and their friends over his passing. I believe he played in Cleveland. But I could be wrong on that, Joe.
Yeah, well, by the way, Norm, I just want to say we're joined on Instagram. I see he's watching Ernest the Cat Miller. Remember, we did a show with Tracy and Ernest the Cat Miller regarding WrestleMania. Ernest, if he wants to come on and school Norm about, you, well, loving Syracuse and all that. And Ernest has a couple kids playing in college basketball and everything like that, and football. So shout out to Ernest the Cat Miller who's watching. And he loves my hair, eh? And Ernest, by the way, I'm the president of the province of Canada, the mayor-elect of North America, and soon to run for the mayor of Mozambique. I can't spell it, but do you want to be my running buddy? Now, let's talk about the NHL. Okay? Saturday, the Leafs are one game and haven't lost. They beat Montreal on opening night. Then Saturday, they go into Detroit, have a 2-goal lead, Norm. Listen to this, because I know you haven't heard this in a long time about the Maple Leafs. They have a 2-goal lead, all right? Leading 2-0. Ends the game. Detroit 6, the Maple Leafs 3. Okay? That's number one. Number two, a rematch at the Scotiabank Arena today. Game was moved from 4 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Maple Leafs outshot Detroit, all right, 41-15. Guess what? Detroit scores with 15 seconds left in regulation. Detroit wins the game 3-2. Maple Leafs lost back-to-back contests against the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I know we're 3 games in. The Maple Leafs are 1 win, 2 losses. When you come to Montreal, it's both losses to Detroit in the same division. All 3 games were in the same division. Tomorrow, Maple Leafs at the Scotiabank Arena host the Nashville Predators, okay? But first game, blowing a 2-goal lead. You want to talk about criticism? Not one person in the media, I don't care what you said about Brian Hayes, not one person in the Toronto media said, By the way, the Maple Leafs gave up a 2-goal lead. Not one person in the Toronto media today. I know everybody was watching the Blue Jays and all that, okay? Not one person today said, by the way, the Maple Leafs lost and they outshot the Red Wings 41-15, meaning Anthony Stolarz, the Maple Leaf goaltender, stopped 12 shots. 12 in a game. Maple Leafs losing 3-2. Now, I know it's 3 games in, but Norm, if you see this last year, and you see it 10 years ago, and you see it 20 years ago, and you've seen it since the last time they won the Stanley Cup almost 60 years ago, we have problems. I don't care if it's game 3 or game 33. We have problems. When are they going to address the main problem? Nobody's Matthews, where is he? And Nylander, yes, he has 3 points in the first game. He hasn't showed up. Any comments you want to make about the Maple Leafs? And tell me from the heart, Norm, don't be scared that you're not going to get a media pass. We'll work on that.
Well, I'm not going to get a media pass anyway, but I'm not worried about that. I'm perfectly happy to watch the games at home. In fact, well, anyway, it's not a concern for me to answer your question about that.
You just want to go to
But as far as the Maple Leafs go, I said when we did our season preview, I said they haven't replaced the points they've lost, the regular season points they lost with Mitch Marner going to Las Vegas. And yeah, they got a player in return, Roy. All due respect to him, but I don't think he's going to have 185 to 100 point season like Marner. And Marner, the advantage with him is he plays special teams, right? Power play, penalty kill. So I think there's a gap to fill there. And I think the Leafs are going to have to make some moves to bolster up their scoring. And having said that, you can say same old Leafs, when they have a lead, they have trouble holding it. And how many times have we seen that the last 5 to 7 years? And we see it in the playoffs as well, a lead in games or a lead in the score in a game. I mean, we know how the fans reacted last spring to the Leafs playoff ouster. So I can't say I'm surprised, Joe.
Well, there is nothing to be surprised about, but I think they're going to struggle. They're going to make the playoffs, but forget about winning the Atlantic Division. They'll be lucky to finish third, because you look at Florida, and Florida's undefeated. You look at Tampa just beat Boston, who Boston was just undefeated also, right? So Boston has improved, Tampa has improved, Florida's still there, and Florida's doing it without, all these injuries. So if the Maple Leafs want to win the first round, which last year they did, why? Because they won the division. They're not going to do anything if they finish second or third. Put it that way, okay? So right now, I know I'm not freaking out. I'm not doing anything. I'm just saying 3 games in, it's a little bit worried that same thing after same thing after same thing after same thing. Every year it happens the same thing, okay? That's all what I'm saying there. And whoever the agent is for Kaprizov is $17 million richer. He's the highest paid NHL player right now. More than McDavid, more than Matthews, more than anybody. Kaprizov from Minnesota. $17 million, Norm. Unbelievable.
Well, I don't really care how much guys make. I mean, actors who, how much are you going to pay for Taylor Swift tickets?
You would pay for Taylor Swift. Me, I just called Bruno saying.
I love Taylor Swift. I have a lot of her music on my Spotify, but am I paying?
What's your favorite song?
Begin Again.
Sing it.
It's from the Red Album. You sing it.
I don't know Begin Again. I don't Begin Again. I just continue on. Anyway, on.
I like her, but I wouldn't pay thousands of dollars to see her. All due respect to her. I think she's a great artist, one of the greatest ever. But I don't have that kind of money anyway, so it's not even something I think about.
All right,
but
so let's get to
as far as how much money athletes earn, they earn as much as the public wants to spend on tickets. Public doesn't want to spend on tickets. That's the end of the big salaries. Very simple. Simple
Okay,
math.
let's get to something else here. NFL is closing down week 6 in the National Football League with two Monday night football games right now. And at halftime, Chicago leads Washington 13-7. The other Monday night football game is being played in Atlanta. I know Ernest is watching it. Just let's say Atlanta leads my team by 7 points. And take me through. We were off air and we were, talking to each other or watching the game here. You were concerned about Buffalo, but what did I tell you? I was concerned about this game. I'm concerned about, the defense. I'm concerned about everything. The Buffalo Bills are losing in the fourth quarter with 8 minutes left, 21-14, and they're lucky because Atlanta scored a touchdown, but it was halftime. The Buffalo blocked the field goal now, so that's 10 points that Atlanta should have had that they don't have. How concerned? And I know you're not a Bills fan. You actually like the Dallas Cowboys, but I know
No,
you
I
like.
don't.
Who do you like?
Well, I just follow teams that have guys from Syracuse University
Well,
or
Buffalo
players
has.
from Syracuse University. Matthew Bergeron of the Atlanta Falcons on their O line. He made a nice block to set up one of Atlanta's touchdowns against Buffalo. But Matthew Bergeron's a Syracuse guy, wears number 55, I believe. So, in any case, I just follow the guys out of Syracuse. Not that many of them, but there's a few around the NFL. And I don't really have a particular team. I used to like the Colts because they had a few guys like Marvin Harrison and Dwight Freeney, obviously both out of Syracuse in the early part of the millennium. Or Marvin Harrison's case, it was in the late 90s, around 97. And then Dwight Freeney was around 2002, I believe. He was drafted. So in any case, yeah, I don't really have a particular NFL team. I just, I had a Donovan McNabb Philadelphia Eagles shirt, right? Because that's where he played. So that's how my cheering interests go.
I'm just sleeping. I don't know what the hell you just said. But anyways, again, Buffalo losing 21-14 with about 8 minutes left. They're at their own. They got the ball back. They're at the 35-yard line. Josh Allen getting pressured and sacked, and it's not a typical Josh Allen game. They're still in this game by a touchdown, and thank God for that. But Buffalo they were 4-0. They lost last week, surprisingly, to the New England Patriots. And I said, you could tell everybody we were talking. I was scared about that game. I'm scared about this game. They have a bye week before they return to play in Carolina, and Carolina's been playing really, really well. And I'm scared about that game. And then the following week, guess who comes to Buffalo to play the Kansas City Chiefs? So one bad game could cost you a month there. Like Kansas City getting a big victory last night, beating Detroit, and Kansas City not dead yet, not dead yet. So the NFL is very, very interesting here. With Buffalo, with Philadelphia losing, the Chargers coming up, and winning, Denver winning that in London game. So very interesting to see what the NFL has stocked up for the next couple weeks there. What are your thoughts?
Well, the NFL, there's a lot of parity, which is great. That's best for the league and it's best for the fans. So it's getting to the point where, just when you think you got a feel for how one team's going to do, like the Chargers started hot, then they went a little bit cold, then they won again. You know, Kansas City got off to a slow start. Now they're looking more like the Chiefs that we expect to see. Uh, Dallas played well. They played hard, but they're still not. They're still not a threat to anybody who's going to challenge for the Super Bowl. They can put up a good game. The Giants have been up and down. There's a lot of the Eagles. Aren't playing like what we're used to seeing. So there's a lot of unpredictability about the National Football League, which in the end makes it a little more interesting because we don't know for sure. Like you said, your Bills are playing okay. But like today's game, like first of all, them losing last week to New England, and New England's starting to look really good. They're looking like they could be a playoff threat to anybody, including Buffalo. And Atlanta's got a good young quarterback and a good running back. So who knows what we're going to see, Joe? But that's what makes the NFL exciting is that there's so much parity. You don't know for sure from one week to the next. The Jaguars got off to a good start, and then they fell back a little bit. So who knows what's going to happen, Joe? That should be the new NFL. The NFL tagline is "Who knows?" Then you have the expression in the CFL, "No lead is safe." In the NFL, they should use the expression "Who knows?" because nobody knows. That's the way the NFL goes, and that's what makes it very exciting for its fans.
All right, I just want to touch on tomorrow international friendlies in the world of footy there and some interesting matchups. Uh, Colombia plays Canada in Harrison, New Jersey. Also, U.S. plays Australia, Mexico, and Ecuador, always in a battle, and Russia, Bolivia, Norway, New Zealand. And then they don't play friendlies till November. So Canada coming off a loss to Australia last week, 1-0. So this is sort of a big match for Canada. And again, it's going to be a Canadian home game, but it's not in Canada. It's in New Jersey there. And this weekend, the MLS decision day comes down on Saturday. All the games are going to be played on Saturday for MLS. And all the games begin 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. in the MLS, and there's a couple battles to play for as Philadelphia leads by 6 p.m. By 6 points over Miami and over Cincinnati, so they're going to get the first seed in the Eastern Division, but Cincinnati and Miami are battling for second, and in the West, they're Vancouver, believe it or not, Vancouver leads by 3 points over San Diego. So San Diego needs to beat to win. Vancouver needs to lose, but San Diego needs to win by 5 goals. Vancouver is first in the West. That's huge because they were a couple years ago, they were the last team. Now they're the first team. Again, the MLS decision day happens October the 18th. So that's interesting in the MLS. Like you said, in all these international leagues, they are having breaks now. But I'll give it to you here. Since we haven't had Carmen on, but we're going to try to get Carmen on in the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about your team, Chelsea, thus far in the EPL. Coming to play again the next Saturday. So the season continues on there. But anything you want to say about your Chelsea Blues?
Well, they're in seventh place, but there's a lot of parity. Talk about parity in the NFL. There's a lot of parity in the EPL, and there's not that many points between first place and like 15th place. So it's really close. And like that NFL expression, on any given Sunday, on any given Saturday, mostly Saturday, that's when most of the EPL games are played. And Sunday, occasionally you have some Friday and Monday games. But anybody can beat anybody. As far as Chelsea, they've got a lot of injuries. I know people don't like hearing that, but I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth, including Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer won't be back until November. Liam Delap, who they got from Ipswich, he's been out for a month. He tore a hamstring. He won't be back until November. Levi Colwill is out for the year. He tore his ACL, needed surgery. So there's three of the most important players aside from Moises Caicedo. And Enzo Fernandez apparently is coming back from some international friendlies with Argentina with some kind of a knee injury. So we've got a lot of key players out, and they're going to have to use guys from their academy. So Chelsea could be in for a tough month of November. They're 1-1 in the Champions League. They lost to Bayern, but they beat Benfica. and then they've got Ajax and Barcelona coming up. So we'll see. They've got a tough dance card ahead of them, and with all these injuries, I'm a little bit concerned that they might be just a little bit in over their heads. So we'll see what happens, Joe. We'll see what happens. We don't know, but they gave a good effort in beating Liverpool, that's for sure. And uh, Esteval, the young kid, the 18-year-old from Brazil, scored a brilliant, brilliant goal, and the stadium went nuts. Stamford Bridge went nuts. They love the kid. He's 18. He works hard. He's got some magical moves. He has superstar potential. He's regarded as one of the best young players to come out of Brazil in quite a long time. So, anyways, he's been the one shining light, and hopefully we get the likes of Liam Delap and Cole Palmer back in November because we need them. That's for sure.
All right, Norm, I know we're going to close up soon, but last night we're going to talk about your favorite sporting subject, wrestling. Last night, TNA presented their WrestleMania called Bound for Glory, and they got a new heavyweight champion, and it was a good match there. Trick Williams took on Mike Santana. Trick Williams, of course, from NXT. Mike Santana, a great homegrown TNA wrestler. Mike Santana capturing the TNA heavyweight title, and it was the greatest TNA event in the history of TNA. Over 22 years, they had 8,000 people paid there in New York, so that was the highest grade for TNA there. So TNA and WWE are doing good stuff. Congratulations to Mike Santana. Also, there's a pay-per-view this Saturday. It's called Wrestle Dream, and of course John Moxley will take on Darby Allin. That's going to be a great match. And Hangman Page will defend his title as well. And this week, WWE was in Australia. They had for SmackDown, for Raw, and they had their premier live event called Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins captured the Crown Jewel on the men's side, and Stephanie McMahon captured on the ladies' side. And then Seth Rollins' vision went blurry because Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman turned. Do you believe it, Norm? They turned on the visionary Seth Rollins. All right, so that was your wrestling recap there, and of course, I got to talk about the ladies also. Congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces. They swept away the Phoenix Mercury last weekend or this weekend. They captured the WNBA championship. So congratulations. Next year, Toronto will get a team in the WNBA, the Toronto Tempo. So we're going to see the WNBA. There's new lady soccer, the CPL, everything there. But congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces. And the PWHL announced their schedule, and it starts a month from now, November 21st. That's the Professional Women Hockey League are starting November 21st. They added Vancouver and Seattle to the crop of teams there. And of course, your favorite, Sarah Nurse, leaving the Toronto Scepters and going to Vancouver there in the PWHL. Taylor Woods says hi, by the way. Taylor Woods was on Saturday. Missing you, Norm. We got Taylor Woods. I've talked to Digit today. We're going to get Digit here. Female empowerment movement is going to have a new look, a new way of thinking and everything like that in the next couple weeks. And we got some big announcements coming up here on the Fired Up Network. Maybe even some jerseys, Norm. Maybe even some tickets. We're going to have a code also. Stay tuned to the Fired Up Network. As you've seen, for 49 minutes, we talk about every sport, unbiased here. Norm loves the Toronto Maple Leafs. He loves the Toronto Blue Jays, loves the Toronto Raptors. Next time we do the sports wrap, I'm going to get Norm to give me his top 5 cities for media food. Top 5 cities for media food, because this guy can eat. This guy can eat. All I eat fries and ice cream, but he can eat steaks. He can eat, pizza. He can eat hamburgers. He can drink coffee. He can drink tea. He spills the tea in his pants and complains it's pee. Go ahead, Norm. Tell everybody as we conclude it how to get a hold of you.
Yeah, right here on the Fired Up Network, Joe. A couple times a week, you and I have lengthy discussions about all the relevant sports that people are watching, like we did tonight. So right here on the Fired Up Network, check us out every day of the week. You'll find something interesting for your particular followings, whichever teams you follow, whichever cities they're in, and whichever sports they play.
And we have one last question. She just tuned in now. We're going to hopefully talk to her afterwards. But my lovely sister, Betty's watching, and she asked, Norm, did you shake your love today? Never
I have
mind
no
about that.
answer. I have no answer to that question.
No answer. So you're saying no, or is it yes? And then you shake it.
No, I'll
Shake
say
it.
no. Yeah,
Shaking it.
say no.
All right. So thank you for watching the Sports Wrap, and stay tuned for more great programming here on the Fired Up Network. So the thing is, the Maple Leafs lost against 2 consecutive games to the Detroit Red Wings. They play at the Scotiabank Arena tomorrow against the Nashville Predators. The Blue Jays are down 2-0 in the best of 7 ALCS series versus the Seattle Mariners with Game 3 on Wednesday in Seattle, Game 4 on Thursday, and Game 5, if necessary, on Friday. Hopefully, we see the Blue Jays back in Toronto battling in the ALCS. But I digress. Enjoy the night. Happy Thanksgiving. Norm, did you have some turkey today?
No, but I had some on Friday and Saturday.
And was it finger licking good?
Was it what?
Was it finger licking good?
I had a very enjoyable turkey dinner. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I'm asking you, was it finger licking good?
It was fork licking good. How do you like that?
Yeah, you lick your fork? How gross, man. All right. Thanks a lot, Norm.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure.